we don't make an impact in the world because we don't think highly enough of ourselves. We don't think we're worthy. Who am I to change the world? Who am I to create a movement? Who am I to create an organization or Mind Valley and I think that that's a terrible obstacle, because if not you, then who is going to make an impact?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Mind Valley podcast. Today's guest is Elisabeth Rohm. She's a German-American TV and film actress, best known for playing Assistant District Attorney Serena Southerlyn in the American TV series Law and Order, and Detective Kate Lockley in the TV series Angel. She's been in over 80 movies, from Joy to Bombshell to American Hustle. Check her out on IMDb. But Elisabeth is multi-talented. In 2013, she wrote a book called Baby Steps, Having the Life I've Always Wanted, Just Not As Expected. And you can get that on Amazon. 2013, Baby Steps. Now, Elisabeth is going through so many new evolutions in her career. She just finished directing. She recently got into directing, and her debut film is called Girl in the Basement. It is a compelling story starring Jude Nelson. She just finished directing her second movie. She just got off that job and is here live with us. And she is now also passionate about her newest endeavor called the Respect Project. So I was just chatting with Elisabeth on what we're going to cover in this podcast. And every time I meet someone who is so incredibly talented, as you know, recently we had incredible women like Priyanka Chopra, who was in the Time 100, Danica Patrick, the race car driver, now Elisabeth Rohm. What I seek to understand is, how do they see the world? We call these models of reality. What are the beliefs ingrained in someone that allows them to do way beyond what ordinary life expects you to do? So that's the first thing we're going to cover. And the second thing we're going to talk about is Elisabeth's day-to-day methods of living, systems of living. How does she eat? How does she stay fit? How does she keep her mind active? And so I'd like to welcome Elisabeth Rohm onto the Mind Valley podcast for a really beautiful conversation. Elisabeth, how are you today?
How are you? Good to be here with you guys. Thank you.
And we're recording this live in front of 200 Mind Valley members who are equally excited to get to know you and learn about how your mind operates.
I like the question so much that you posed, because I think as human beings, we're so beautifully flawed that to suppose that there's one way to thrive or to excel in life sort of underestimates our human frailty. And actually, I think one of the great ways to succeed is to be gentle with yourself, to be forgiving, to show your self-respect, meaning you're allowed to make mistakes and then pick yourself back up in the morning. And I have a 13-year-old daughter who's been really difficult lately. And it's amazing to me how we regenerate, in the morning, we love again more deeply. And I think that we feel that way, hopefully, for our children. We give ourselves permission every morning to have, I guess, a rebirth is what I'm saying. I sort of like it, we can put the yesterday in the past and not judge ourselves too harshly, but hold ourselves accountable to do better the next day. And I think that philosophy really came from my mom, who, was a deep seeker and probably my spiritual teacher. And I've taken her as my North Star my whole life. And that philosophy has guided me well, meaning if I fall, I pick myself up without judgment.
And let's talk about that, right? Because as I said earlier, we can understand so much about someone when we understand their models of reality. And a model of reality is a belief that you hold to be true about the world. And these beliefs can be bad, they can hold you back, or these beliefs could uplift you. Now, you went through a really interesting experience as a child. Part of your personal journey included losing your mother and your aunt to heart disease at a young age. I'm curious to know, because you now are a mother of a 13-year-old, how that experience shaped who you are and how you operate as a mother today.
Well, I was very lucky to have strong matriarchs. My mother was a devotee of Maharishi. And so I grew up exposed to Buddhism and meditation and yoga and an Eastern philosophy. So she was, my mom, a very deep spiritual teacher of mine. And even though she died young and I was left orphaned in a sense. I had a 2-year-old daughter when she passed away. She left such a deep imprint with me that I was dreaming about her 2 nights ago. And this has been a big moment of transition for the world. We're going out now. I've gotten my vaccine. There's been many shifts. I just moved into a new house 3 days ago. And I think in these big moments of transition, I reflect on my mom and how, she inspired me to feel a sense of responsibility to the world. That said, that's something that I really want to inspire in my daughter. And it's funny, last night we were talking about it around the dinner table, and I said, I've always had this North Star for my mom, and it is something like this. The thought is, if not me, then who? We don't make an impact in the world because we don't think highly enough of ourselves. We don't think we're worthy. Who am I to change the world? Who am I to create a movement? Who am I to create an organization or Mind Valley and I think that that's a terrible obstacle, because if not you, then who is going to make an impact? And we should be inspired to think we don't have to be rich and we don't have to have 100 hours of time to make an impact. But even if we have 1 minute, or we can have a conversation, or if we can pay attention to somebody in a different way. And I love this quote Maya Angelou said. She said, "You won't remember how you met somebody or where you met somebody, but you will remember how they made you feel about yourself." So that is a gift you can give to somebody, just that. So those are some principles that I got from my mom that I give to my daughter, Easton, and I try to remind the child inside myself to live by every day.
So I want to circle back to that, right? How do you make someone feel? And that's when we want to talk about the Respect Project. But before I get there, you spoke about rebirths in the morning. I want to find out, what is a day in the life of Elisabeth Rohm like? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? How do you start your day?
I definitely don't start my day well if I'm rushing. That is not a good thing for me. I mean, I'm traditional in the sense that I like a routine. I get up in the morning, I make my bed. I need a couple of hours to be quiet. I don't get on the phone. I don't engage with people. You know what I mean? I try to very, very much buffer myself, maybe because I was raised by a meditator. I try to be quiet and get very grounded. And I like the thought that I don't want to take my dirty shoes through people's lives. So I guess in the morning, I give myself the opportunity to get rid of my own personal chaos. I try to get organized. I always have a to-do list. I'm always checking it off. I have it here. It's ridiculous. I mean, it looks like, like a 12-year-old's to-do list, but I'm very meticulous in getting, organized, and just having a very quiet, self-reflective time in the morning. That way, when I engage with people, I'm not in a state of fear. I'm not, even if there's difficulties going on in my life, I've sort of gotten ahead of them a little bit. And that type of organization has helped me. And I think the same thing goes for me at night. I become a little self-reflective, I think, in the morning and the night, and I tend to try to get quiet. So I'm not a chaotic person. And I do feel a sense of not only wanting that peace for myself. I remember David O. Russell, who directed American Hustle and Joy, said to me one day, he goes, "What do you want to do more than anything in the world?" And he said, "What do you want more than anything in the world?" And I said, "I want peace of mind." And he burst out laughing. David has a great laugh. And he said, "Only you would answer the question like that." He said, I was asking you, what role do you want to play? Like Joan of Arc or, but I said, I want peace of mind. And I think that I lead my morning and end my day with that as a priority, because I know what it's like to not have peace of mind. And I've probably not been my best self when I get too chaotic and, I don't kind of hone into those quiet moments.
That's a beautiful practice. Ensuring that peace of mind is how you start your day and how you go to bed. What are the last thoughts in your head before you fall asleep?
Well, I tend to actually pray, I guess. I don't really pray to any religion or any tradition, but I sort of connect with my own spirit. I guess I meditate in a sense. Whatever your particular spiritual beliefs are, I mean, I really lay there quietly until I fall asleep. And I, think of my mom, and I think of the spiritual teachers I've had. And I think of, I kind of try not to go through the day and get caught up with that to-do list that guides me during the day, but I try to empty out and connect more to an essence, I guess. And so whether it's breath, or it's the thought of my mom, or a teacher, or a thought, I try to get into stillness. And I've always struggled with sleeping. So I guess that's probably been a trick that's helped me along the way. Because as a kid, I was a sleepwalker and always very restless at night, and a big dreamer, which hasn't ended for me either.
I love that. I love that. Now I want to get to your project. So I'm actually going to share the screen right now, and I'm going to bring up the Respect Project.
Okay.
So this is it's a not-for-profit, and the Respect Project is about online and in-personal cultural programming rooted in respect, honesty, and celebration of diverse opinions and experiences. So Elisabeth brings together all of these amazing people to have these rich conversations on a variety of topics, from the green economy to respect, courage, stoicism, love, the future, reinvention. And you can learn more on therespectproject.org. Elisabeth, for people who are listening on the podcast or watching this interview on YouTube, if people wanted to learn about these conversations that you are running, how can anyone attend any of these conversations?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'll say people can book a Respect Project talk you could book a private one for Mind Valley, just for your Mind Valley listeners. I could lead it. You could put 5 different people on the panel, and I could help moderate and curate a conversation with you based upon whatever topic you were inspired by. That said, I create and curate a conversation or 2 a month that inspire me personally. I just did one with Tim Shriver on his organization Unite, and I just prior to that did one with the Special Olympics. So that said, I do those. You can go to Elisabeth Rohm at Instagram, and you can then look and see what the current invitation is, but you can always go to therespectproject.org to find the most recent talk, and you can RSVP, and I'll send you a Zoom much like this conversation we're on, and people can participate and also in the chat ask questions. So we make time for that at the end of the conversation to talk to everybody that's been there.
Amazing. That is amazing. And look, guys, one of the things I want to do with my audience is help spread enlightened ideas. Before Mind Valley became Mind Valley, our tagline was helping spread enlightened ideas. And the Respect Project is about enlightened ideas. Being able to see diverse viewpoints and be open to diverse ideas is such an important thing. In fact, one of my favorite quotes from Star Wars, by the way, Elisabeth, are you a Star Wars fan?
I'm not, but lay it on me.
Okay, so today, as we are recording this, it's May 4th. It's May 4th, right? And May 4th is Star Wars Day because it rhymes with May the Force be with you.
Okay.
It's kind of stupid, but geeks think like this. And so all around the world today, there are people walking around with lightsabers and dressed up as Obi-Wan. And so today is Star Wars Day. So one of the greatest quotes from Star Wars, and I opened one of the chapters in my book with it, is only the Sith deal in absolutes. Obi-Wan says that. He's the wise Buddha-like character. And what he means is that only evil deals in absolutes. Everyone else recognizes that there are multiple viewpoints. You can be at different, you don't have to be at the ends of the spectrum, which is the absolute. You can observe multiple viewpoints. And that's what I love about the Respect Project.
Yes. It's interesting. I just did one, and there was on a panel, a woman, an African-American woman, and she said, I don't believe in the melting pot. Don't ask me to smear myself. I'm an individual, and I want to be respected for my individuality. And so I thought that was a beautiful thought, because ultimately we can agree to disagree. In tolerance and acceptance, we agree that we're different. And in the Respect Talks, we agree that each one of our narratives is important, but we're not asking the other person to have the same life opinion or life experience that we are. So the idea that we can all come together, share our own personal experience, and we can listen, hear, learn, and act and base our knowledge on each other's differences and be inspired by our differences, not afraid of them. Because it's either we get to choose one road, the fear road or the love road. And we're not all alike, and we shouldn't melt together. But to have self-respect is deeply linked with having mutual respect.
Right, right. And so why I'm excited to tell my audience about the Respect Project website is because it's such a great tool. So go to therespectproject.org, sign up to get on their mailing list, just put in your email, and you'll be invited to these live Zooms when these beautiful conversations happen.
We're having one on Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific time in the US, and it's on the future of the green economy. So a few really cool leading people in the environmental business, as well as having companies that are committed to environmentalism. So to talk about it, especially through the new administration of the United States, and to understand what the future could look like here for businesses that are committed to being environmentally aware.
I love that. I love that. Now, the question I have for you is, when do we know? So this is what I struggle with. So would you have a conversation with someone who was talking about, is the earth round or is the earth flat?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things about the Respect Project is, although there are conversations that, are based in topics that inspire me, I want to create a diverse, disruptive, in a sense, group of people who come from a different point of view, different gender, different race, different economic.
But even if what it was saying was disproved by science?
What I'm saying is I want to welcome people into a conversation with different points of view and let that be okay. Because at the end of the day, if I have a conversation about gun control and one person's, family member was murdered and another person doesn't give a shit, because they have, 7 guns in the house, you know what I mean? I welcome people into a conversation with different points of view, but I always say this, don't come unless you can step into this with respect.
Understood.
Don't bring your dirty shoes into this conversation. If you can lean into this conversation with respect and listen and not become volatile. And guess what? I've invited people into conversations and they've said, no, respectfully, I cannot come into that conversation with respect. But I try to create a very diverse group of people who can have a conversation based in respect, so that we can begin to learn from each other, because we're not all alike and all of our points of view have some validity. But to your point about science, yes, I understand there is from certain points of view, that is not a valid statement. And so that's a little bit of trickier gray area.
Yeah. So now I was deliberately just to get a perspective. I was giving a really stark example, right? So let's talk about something a little bit more controversial. Would you have a conversation with someone who was pro-vaccine and someone, because recently what happened is there was a public debate between Joe Rogan, who said that he recommends that young people don't get vaccinated. And then Dr. Anthony Fauci from the US government came out and said that Joe Rogan was essentially wrong, and that vaccines, it's our responsibility to get vaccinated.
I guess the answer to the question,
you would hold a debate like that, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I guess the question is, ultimately, though, I'm not a seeker of controversy. I am a seeker of love and unity and respect. So that is the basis of which, that's my North Star. So I'm not looking to create controversy or sensationalism. I would lead a conversation. If I invite you in and I say, come and tell the truth, your truth, on behalf of other people. If that resonates with you, if that feels true, then you belong in a Respect Project talk. If you're coming to create conflict, that is not the nature of these talks. Because, and I'll just digress for a quick second. I'm doing a movie, I'm directing and starring in a movie coming up hopefully in the fall, based on Scarlett Lewis's life. And Scarlett Lewis's son was murdered in the Sandy Hook massacre in the United States. And so gun control is a big issue here in the US. Now, I am going to lead a conversation on gun tragedy and choosing love. But I'm not leading a conversation on gun control with people who want to, punch each other in the face and like brawl over it. That's not the intention. My intention is to say, let's have a deep conversation about the crisis and the trauma of gun violence. But I'm not, and so people would come into that conversation with the North Star of wanting to lead with love, but not controversy.
Elisabeth, I just became a massive fan of the Respect Project because I see I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I love the fact that you are not chasing controversy, because so many people do it right now. I mean, Joe Rogan does it, Fox News does it. There are left-leaning websites that do it as well. It's an easy way to get clickbait. It's an easy way to spread misinformation to get viewership. But I see what you're doing. What you're really doing is you're bringing in what Ken Wilber, the philosopher, would call integral thinking. And integral thinking means you see the other side with respect. You see the lens through which they come on, the lens through which they come from. You practice empathy. And that is a massively powerful spiritual skill.
But isn't that what a great marriage would be like, or a great friendship? You know, I respectfully agree to disagree. I respectfully agree to live in this union and not be like you. I don't need everything you need. I don't eat everything you eat. I do things differently. I move through the world differently, but I love you and I want intimacy with you. I mean, isn't that is the only way to
Exactly. But it's easy to say, it's harder to practice.
Oh, absolutely. But that's why I was inspired by, okay, if I'm talking to one of my best friends, I can talk like this. It's really deep. It's really personal. There's nothing you can't ask me or I'm unwilling to share with you, because I love you and I want healing and I want connection. So that's how the basis of an intimate conversation is. Why couldn't we have intimate conversations as a public forum? And that was my thought. So why couldn't I invite people into a conversation and say, can we talk as honestly and deeply as we might if we were husband and wife, or we were best friends, or, you know, can we speak from that point of view? And so if I invite somebody into a respect talk, they're willing to go that deep with me. Much like being here at Mind Valley, I'm here to participate. I want it to be a mind-bending experience. I'm not here to self-promote, right? So it's like, that's what the Respect Project is also about. And people who come into those conversations are coming in to have deep conversation. And ironically, we're doing it on behalf of each other, but the panelists are always the ones who call me and say, oh my God, like I had so many epiphanies talking to you, it's crazy. And then they all want to know each other. So they're interested in each other, right? You put 5-6 people together who don't know each other and you ask them to be intimate with each other, and somehow they're deeply impacted. And what have we learned? We've learned to listen, and we've learned to act based on what we're listening to. And yet we're respectfully agreeing to disagree, because we're not all the same. And we don't want to melt into each other. We want to be uniquely, distinctly, beautifully different.
Right. And I love that. I love that. It reminds me of, have you ever heard of the philosopher Tim Urban?
No, you're going to have to email me all these great ideas.
So Tim Urban, he writes an incredible blog called Wait But Why. Okay. Wait But Why. And he's really young. I've met him. I think he's like in his mid-30s, but the guy is freaking genius. And he's the man that Elon Musk calls up. And Elon Musk asks Tim Urban to explain concepts that Elon has in his head to the entire world. So when Elon created Neuralink, the brain AI integration device, Tim Urban was the one who explained it to the world. Now, Tim Urban has an interesting model on dealing with conflict. And he says that when two sides come together, you can choose to look at your beliefs through 4 different perspectives. You can operate as scientists, which means that I believe this, but if you present me with data, I will change my mind. That's the scientist. The scientist isn't locked into any one opinion.
Yes.
In the presence of data, the scientists will change their mind. Now, there's one level below that, and that's the level that a lot of us, even people here on Mind Valley, people who consider themselves conscious, will still gravitate to. And that level is sports fans. So I went to Michigan, right? So whenever I attended a football game between Michigan and Ohio State, I would always cheer for Michigan because that was the t-shirt I wore. But if Ohio State won, I'd be happy for them. I'd applause. I wouldn't be as happy if my team won, but I'd be, I wouldn't jeer and tell them you suck if the opposing team won. So sports fans have a respectful attitude towards each other, but they cheer for a certain side. So that's one level below. Then there's the next level, which gets a little bit more animosity, and that is lawyers or attorneys. So lawyers will pick a side, and they will choose to destroy any evidence to the contrary. So if you decide that vaccines are unsafe, your mind, if you're at the lawyer level, which is not an ideal level, will choose to ignore any evidence that says that it is safe. And likewise, if you believe vaccines are safe and the anti-vaxxer movements are a bunch of idiots, you will choose to disregard any evidence from their side. You've picked your side. And then the lowest level, the worst level to be on, is fundamentalists. Fundamentalists will want to destroy you, if you disagree. So to a fundamentalist, if you disagree with them, it's like you just stabbed them, you just wounded them, and they will want to fight you.
Right.
So at the lowest level, you have fundamentalists. One level above, you have attorneys. That's where a little bit the fighting happens. Then you have sports fans, then you have scientists. And what I love that I believe you're doing from a philosophical point of view is you are training people to operate as sports fans and scientists with mutual respect.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great way of saying it, because ultimately I am inviting people into a conversation with the understanding that we are absolutely different. And I'm not inviting you into to sort of be alike. But what I then do is I base the conversation, whether it's a topic on science or the environment, or I base it on our basic human needs, which is to deeply communicate. I love to hear this. I love to talk and have someone listen. You know what I mean? I need to be heard. I need to be seen. I actually bet every single person here is like, I love when someone listens to me and I can tell a yarn about my life, you know? So if we could all sit there and actually be able to talk about our lives and have other people listen and respond, that in itself begins to unite us.
Exactly.
So, you know, I mean, I've led conversations with people who all work at the same company and they all think they like each other so much. But the truth is, what they would admit privately to me is that none of them really know each other that well. So the idea that they could come with a moderator and have a safety net, which is me to, you know, sort of protect and guide it, then they suddenly are like, oh my God, I'm getting to know these people I work with for the last 20 years who know nothing about me. They don't know what I go home to, what my house looks like, what I eat, anything, who I sleep with, all of that. And so I guess there is this deep human need. There are deep human needs that unify us regardless of our differences. And although the topics can have fragmentation in them and we are all looking for solutions and we may have to agree to disagree, there are some basic emotional, spiritual needs that we all need. And I try to lead all topics from that foundation.
I love that. So what would be your advice to everyone listening today on how they can embody this level of respect when faced with an opinion that challenges their own?
I think it's really hard to do it, you know, and that's the reason why I needed it myself. I created something I needed. I created something I'm thirsty for. I was, you know, we all get sort of emotionally and spiritually dehydrated in this world. And, you know, I guess I created something that I felt that I could benefit from. But I guess, you know, it's sort of, I love this thought, you know, even if something is difficult, you know, that we should do it anyway, you know, that we should be the person that helps ourselves recalibrate, you know. And so ultimately we have to work on ourselves, you know what I mean? I see a lot of people here talking about empathy and love, but how about empathy towards self? How about nurturing towards self? How about love of self? You know, and I think unless we all start taking some responsibility for keeping, I always say this, if my side of the street isn't clean, I know it. And if I'm coming in participating as an, you know, an asshole, I know it. So, you know, my thought is, you know, please take care of yourselves. Life is hard. Being a human being is hard. Life is mysterious. To your point, Vishen, you know, from science to all topics are mercurial. They're constantly changing. And the deeper and more intelligent you are, you're going to be aware of the fact that life is a moving target. You can feel wobbly very quickly. So you have to be really in touch with your own self so that you can navigate this life with as little destruction as possible. My mom used to always say this to me: don't let people be reckless with you, Liz, but don't be reckless with other people. Our words are very powerful. Choose your words wisely. You know why? Because I'm never going to forget anything you've said to me today. It is going to stay with me. So choose your words wisely, how we communicate with each other. And I guess at the end of the day, I just feel the way we talk to each other, no matter what we believe, should be chosen very carefully, because it becomes our psyche, our mental health, and then our mental health is what we take out into the world and we drag through everybody else's life. So work on your mental health. We all need it.
I love that. Gosh, I wish you had your own Netflix show where you brought these conversations together.
Me
It'll
too. Maybe you should be my producer.
No, but I love what you're doing so much. It so reflects my values. Like one of my highest values is unity and respect. I employ people, for example, from 60 different countries, and that's by choice. I want to have that huge mass of diversity in the
Yes.
office together, because that's a great way to practice the muscle of respect, which is why Mindvalley as a company is so diverse. But yeah, I want to draw attention to the Respect Project. I want to make sure that people who are listening to this podcast are not just gonna stop here, but go deeper in your work by signing up to your list, because I think the service that you provide is so needed in today's world.
Thank you. And the irony is, you know, no matter what the topic is, even if it seems interesting or not interesting to you, just know that I don't ever lead the conversation based fully on the topic. My
Right.
intention isn't to have a conversation about just the environment or gun control or this or that. It's really to get into our hearts and just choose love with each other, and to be as self-revealing as possible on behalf of each other. I've learned throughout my life where we have dark shadows, that is where we bring negativity and pain into the world, and I think that when we become self-reflective and we bring things out into the light, they don't have as much power or control over us. So we do less destruction and we do less harm to each other. So the
Wow.
more we talk and communicate, whether it's with a partner or a therapist or even in a community like Mindvalley or the Respect Project, you realize like you're not out of control and you don't have secrets that become destructive to others. And I guess my point is when we say things out loud, we gain control and we recognize that things inside of us don't have as much power. Our secrets don't have as much power as we thought.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So now what I want to do is I want to take some questions from the audience. And again, for those of you who are listening on the podcast, this is where you can learn more about the Respect Project. Go to therespectproject.org. And there you can see a list of all talks, and you can sign up to be notified when there's a new talk, therespectproject.org. So there's been a bunch of questions that just came in, and I'm just going to go through the questions right now. Elisabeth, do you see the questions?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let you choose. I'm going to let you choose a question that you would like to answer. This is from our live audience.
Let's see. Well, a lot of the things you guys are saying are just very affirming. So what is your source? What if your source is from someone who is given a spiritual gift to understand all disease and has healed thousands of people from that understanding? Okay. Hanson, maybe you have to explain that to me a teeny bit more. Let's go up a little bit.
Or while you're doing that, while you're looking at the questions, let me bring up the guy who has the most votes, JD Villaches.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make JD a panelist, and I'm going to let JD ask you his question.
Great.
JD, you are now a panelist. Welcome, JD.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Such an honor to
Thank you so much. You're kind of going a little bit in and out. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
JD, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, of course. So the question that got the most vote was, how did you, throughout your journey, throughout your growth journey, how did you manage to really deal with your limiting beliefs, and which were those? So that was it.
I like that. I mean, I'm not a very judgmental person in general, but I think I can certainly be extremely hard on myself. And I guess, learning to be more gentle and have more self-respect. Because I guess what I'm trying to say ultimately is that, like, if we're the source, you know, if we're the creative source, like Tyler, the creator, says, I am the creator, I am the creator. So I'm the creator of my life. I'm the creator of the energy I'm going to put in the world. That means that I have to start to heal my own self, my own pain, and take some deep responsibility in that. So I just have a deep belief that we either lead with fear or love. And it's very hard to love people if you're operating from a place of pain and hurt. So I guess I started to really work on, you know, myself in a more deep way. Even though I think I've always been philosophic and, you know, sort of seeking, I had to accept that I had a lot of broken pieces and that I had to take care of those and heal those so that I could bring less negativity, less judgment into the world, because ultimately we all can operate from ego, you know.
And what was that limiting belief, the one that you had to transcend?
I think the limiting belief was that operating from fear was acceptable. You know, it's like there's something about operating from love that's like incredibly terrifying, right? You free fall, your body free falls into the life experience. But when we operate from fear, we can grasp and we can hold on to something. In other words, I let go of needing to be in control. And I started to trust the universe and myself and my guiding principles so that I could free fall with more grace. And so that means like choosing to live from love versus from fear. Vulnerability, somebody said. Exactly.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, JD. And as usual, nice hat. Where do you get your hats from? Every time you come on, you have like this really cool, sexy hat.
I like to wear hats too.
Awesome. Yeah, send me your address. I'll send you one.
Okay, cool. Go to my Instagram, Elisabeth Rohm. We can DM each other.
Sounds good.
JD, thank you. I'm going to make you an attendee, and we're going to bring up our next guest interviewer. Okay, so Sumaya, I hope you had two questions that got really good votes. I'm going to make you a panelist, Sumaya. Get ready to take over the interview. Sumaya, you ready? Sometimes Zoom has a little bit of a lag.
Yeah.
Where is Sumaya?
How do you see actually how many votes they get? That's
oh, maybe, do you not see that? Maybe only the admin can see it.
Yeah, I think only you can see it because I just see the comments.
Did Sumaya just leave because she was too shy to come on live? What happened there?
Yeah.
She literally just disappeared. Or maybe she was trying to adjust something and she lost a connection. Okay, I'm going to bring in the next person.
Oh, there's Sumaya.
Sumaya, you're here. Awesome. Turn on your camera, Sumaya. Hi, Sumaya.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
My laptop picked the perfect time to be a little. Yeah, so I had two questions. My first question is, I think, a little more to do with your career. So my first question is, how was the transition from being an actor to a director? And did being on camera help you with making that transition? Did it make it any easier, or was it more challenging? And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ask the second one. We'll do both.
So my second question is on a different spectrum. You mentioned about not letting our external judgment in. So how do you change your mental model on not letting external judgment in, but at the same time, how do you balance it so that you can let in constructive feedback, so that you don't end up being obnoxious or like answer, but just to find balance between keeping that sense of security, but at the same time, letting in enough feedback so that you can improve?
Yeah, that's really a tough one. That's really a good question. Well, let me do the acting and the directing one. That's a little bit easier. I'm having acted for 25 years in a business where A lot of times I didn't feel respected. I didn't feel protected. It's a mainly, no offense to the wonderful men I have in my life who are feminists, but I never saw me as a director reflected back to me. So I think I really approached directing from the point of view of the actor, really holding the space for the actor. Yes, I have a strong vision for how I want it to look, and the cinematography and the storytelling and the narrative. But I also really specifically approach it from, without the actor, there is no movie, right? Without, you guys, who love movies, and me also, I identify not just with the cinematography, the poetry of how it looks, but really the actor's heart and soul. So I think my way into telling stories is through having been an actor and protecting the actor and sort of holding that flame. And so it just, took 25 years for me to have the confidence to say that I had if not me, then who, would be the storyteller and protect others and hold that flame for those actors. Because up until that time, it had been me only that would put myself into those vulnerable places. So that feels like a privilege and an honor to protect actors' emotional hearts. The other thing is how do you let people not drag their dirty shoes through your heart and soul, but be open to listening? I think it's really important to always communicate about your needs quickly so that people can hurt you less, right? So I just moved in with my significant other, and I moved into his house. And instead of having conflict between us about the fear of, kind of living in a new environment, I said, this is what I'm going to need when I move in. So we can avoid conflict. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that that's what he needed. It just was that I guess we have to set each other up for success, right? You can hear criticism. It's just that maybe you're holding inside of yourself your own needs because you don't want to be judged, or you don't want, them to, think one way or another about you. So I think my mom used to always say this: tell the truth fast and communicate very well about your needs so that people can hurt you less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sumaya.
Thank you.
I'm gonna send you back to the attendee group.
Thank you, Sumaya. Nice to meet you.
Sumaya seems to be, okay, here we go. So Elisabeth, as we come to the tail end of this interview, I want to ask you about two other topics that were on my mind. One is suffering. You said, you believe it's important to lean in and experience the pain. Suffering shouldn't be avoided. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I do feel that way. I think that the cracks are where the light comes in. I mean, if it took me 48 years to learn that, that is what I would impart on anybody if I was to leave this planet and this body, is to say, don't avoid the pain, dance with it. Be excited when things are difficult, because as well as I do, that is when you're going to grow the most. When everything is going wonderfully and everything is perfect, it's really hard to stay out of your ego, right? Because you're like, I did that. Look at me. I'm thriving. I've got all this money, or I've got this success, or I've got this great boyfriend, or I've got this, it's I, right? We're humbled. We're brought to our knees when we're going through pain, and we've lost somebody, or we're having a difficult time in our lives. Right now, it's been very challenging with my daughter and I, and I've said to myself, do not forget your guiding principles. Your principles being, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for growth. She may be a child and you're an adult, but this is your spirits moving through this life experience together. Don't avoid this discomfort, right? As artists, we're comfortable with discomfort. We're constantly unemployed. We don't know when we're getting our next job usually. And our feelings, our pain, our hurt, that's what we dip into in order to play characters and tell stories based in our human experience. So we're probably better at that than some people, but I would say that that's a life struggle, to dance with fear, to dance with pain, to embrace it, and to not avoid it, because it's like this beautiful quote, the barn has burned down, now I can see the moon.
Oh, I
So
love
you know, we should be attached to nothing, right? We can't take it with us. We didn't come into this life with it. And if we believe in anything somewhat spiritual, we know that we're going to meet again. So we're spirits moving through this life. So what does it matter anyway? We shouldn't, you know, and why do we consider something painful and something abundant better? I mean, it seems really, I don't know, it seems like a mind game we're playing with ourselves that's unnecessary, and it's based upon suffering.
Beautiful. What you speak about reminds me of Michael Beckwith's philosophy of Kensho versus Satori. Satori is growth through a eureka moment. Kensho is growth through pain. But both ultimately help you grow and become the best person you can be.
Yes.
And this brings me to one of our final questions today. And that is, I want you to talk about that remarkable bit of advice that your mother gave you, including don't lie to yourself and tell the truth quickly.
Well, she would say to me, don't lie to other people, but for God's sakes, don't lie to yourself. So you had asked me what I do in the morning and what I do at night. And I guess that there's some sort of kernel in that, which is I really quietly sort of comb through like my behavior and other people's behavior, and you know, and try to become objective and get perspective. I guess the Respect Project at the end of the day is about not just agreeing to disagree, but getting perspective on each other's differences, and getting that aerial view as opposed to that, you know, deeply personal view. Because it's not often that we actually are forced to listen to each other's different life experiences. Where are you from? How do you navigate life? How do you wake up in the morning? How do you go to sleep? You know, what is your intimate personal life experience, and how can we get, you know, some distance? In Buddhism, they say, you know, to be in the world but not of it, to not be attached. It's really, really hard to not be attached when we have to pay our electric bill, and or we're thirsty, or, you know, we're going through things. But it is true. My ultimate goal in life, much like my mom said, you know, to tell the truth quick or to not lie to yourself, my ultimate goal is to be in the world but not of it, and to move through it, you know, with that sort of perspective.
Thank you. I love that. So as we come to the tail end of this, I just want to remind people to check out Elisabeth's incredible project, the respectproject.org, and go ahead and sign up. And Elisabeth, I want to get a quick virtual selfie of us so I can post about you and the Respect Project on my Instagram. Would you smile for the camera?
I guess, hold on, let me fix my, yes, go ahead.
Okay, we'll just take one more for safety. Okay, and also because I want to, it's as I said, it's May the 4th, it's Star Wars Day, and my team was telling me I got to post something on Star Wars. So now I'm going to post that quote, only the Sith believe in absolutes, and link it to the Respect Project. Double win.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay, that is awesome. Love that. I got a great shot of you too. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Elisabeth, thank you so much. However I can help you with your project, reach out to me.
Thank you. I feel the same way. And if ever I can lead a respect talk for you guys or any organization you're passionate about, let me know. I would be happy to moderate that.
Yeah, or ever if you're producing or directing new movies and you need, and there's a character, even a background character who happens to be Indian, I'm all in. I just want to be.
Okay, I love it. Don't even threaten me with a good time. I love it.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Take care.
All right, you guys, be well. Thank
Bye.
you for support.